This is the Supernova Building Guide, and today there will be no dawn for men. Since a few weeks I've been diving back into Middle-earth strategy battle game from Games Workshop, and I'm in the middle of building an Uruk-hai army. And while I was looking at the models, I remembered the scene at the end of the Two Towers where Gandalf is charging downhill into the Uruk-hai. And I thought this amazing scene would be great to use as a diorama. So for this build we're going to need a hill. We're going to make something of a rock wall here, so we have a backdrop. And I'm going to divide this piece into 3 parts. So here we have the Uruk-hai and here we have Rohan. So in the first step I'm going to take some foam and a hot wire foam cutter to make these walls, and we have a nice foam box. My foam box is done, and right now we're going to fill this void, and I'm going to use some white styrofoam. I'm using this because it's way cheaper than the XPS foam, and because we're going to cover it later you won't see this bubbly texture. So first I'm going to fill it up. Now this is the part I need to cut away with my hot wire foam cutter. Here you can clearly see what hot glue does to white foam. The heat really eats it away, but it was enough to keep these 3 pieces together for my hot wire foam cutter. Right now, to get a better and stronger connection to these 2 pieces, I'm going to use some PVA glue. After some consideration, I think this area for the Uruk-hai is maybe a little bit small, because I want 2 or 3 lines of Uruk-hai. So when this is the 3rd line, the 2nd line and the 1st line, my guys will be here. But I have pikes, and the pikes are about 8 centimeters long, so something like this. So they're poking with their pikes into the ground. So I'm going to extend this a bit with some extra foam. For the rocks on this side of the project, I'm going to use tree bark. Tree bark is very cheap, you can get it at your local garden center. It's lightweight and it already has this great stone texture we're going to use. And I'm going to use some hot glue to glue it on the project. I'm going to glue all these pieces horizontally to get a more natural vibe. And later we're going to remove all the excess that is hanging over the edge. The first phase of the wall is done, and I really enjoy this process because you can make some very cool looking rocks in very less time. Now, this is the back, and I'm going to take it outside with my belt sander to make it nice and flat. Next up, I'm going to take small pieces of foam and I'm going to fill in all the gaps, because later when we use a texture paste it will be way easier to make this all one rocky surface. And before making the ground I did some research by watching the Siege of Helm's Deep again. And I was looking for some scenes with vegetation or the color of the ground. And in this scene, where the Rohirrim are charging, you can clearly see some yellow light brownish vegetation, and later when the Uruk-hai are retreating you can see some dark grey, almost black ground. For this project I'm going to make some mud paste, and it's going to be similar to the mud paste I made for my trench tiles, but this one will be a bit thicker. First I need some sand, some tile grout, black paint and Mod Podge. When the mud paste was dry, I gave everything a coat of some black foam safe spray paint, and right now we can work on this wall. And I'm going to dry brush it, and I'm going to start with a dark grey and a dark brown and work my way up from there to lighter paints. The dry brushing is done, but to add a little bit more color, I'm going to add a dark brown wash on the rocky surface. I'm not going to talk to you through the whole painting process because there are way better painters out there that make amazing tutorials, but I'm going for the fast slap chop method. First, I'm going to dry brush all the highlights because this will help my contrast paint later. And maybe you're thinking, well, wait a minute, shouldn't you use white paint for this? But when you dry brush with a yellow paint or another warm color, you get a more vibrant, more warm color in the end, and I think this is more suitable for the Rohirrim. Also for the Uruk-hai I was looking for a fast painting method. So I started with a black base coat, and then, because the model is almost all armor, I gave everything a dry brush with metallic silver. With some dark red I painted the skin on the legs, arms and face, and I painted all the leather straps with a dark brown. Then I finished the model with a black and brown wash for a dirty look. This model took me around 10 minutes, and I think it's the fastest method to paint Uruk-hai. And now I need to do this again 36 more times. Build me an army worthy of Mordor. And in the last phase I need to glue 50 models on this project. And I could talk about the glue or the position of the models, but I thought it would be cool to read a few sentences from the book The Two Towers. Here we go. There suddenly upon a ridge appeared a rider, clad in white, shining in the rising sun. And over the low hills the horns were sounding. Erkenbrand, the rider shouted, Erkenbrand! Behold the white rider, cried Aragorn. Gandalf is come again. Mithrandir, Mithrandir, said Legolas. This is wizardry indeed. The host of Isengard roared, swaying this way and that, from fear to fear. Again the horn sounded from the tower. Down from the hills leaped Erkenbrand, lord of Westfold. Down leaped Shadowfax, like a deer that runs sure-footed in the mountains. The white rider was upon them, and the terror of his coming filled the enemy with madness. This mud paste they use is really amazing stuff. You can put it on the ground, you can put it on walls, but did you know that you could also use it on buildings to blend it more into its surroundings? So I suggest you watch this video where I tell you everything you need to know. Now go out there and build a masterpiece.